But welcome back, Lex, to the trophy leading Temple to Klothys. I'm your trophy leading High Priest, Aspiring Spike, and today we're going to show that Klothys rewards your faithful by playing a Grixis pile of good stuff to earn more trophies. Do your parts to keep the trophies rolling in by giving a like, sub, follow, comment, CFB Pro sub, and just by watching and praising Klothys. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I'm trophy leader right now for Modern. Well, I'm not the trophy leader. I'm up there though. Yeah, Dress Down is a really weird card. Those of you who don't know, it's 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Creatures lose all abilities at the beginning of the end step. Sacrifice Dress Down. You can loop it with Lurrus. I think it turns off Lurrus's lifelink. Kind of anticipate making some mistakes with the card, to be honest. I'm actually gonna go Inquisition on turn 1 here, because if I go Darcy on turn 1, I can't go double Inquisition next turn. But here I can go Inquisition into Darcy Inquisition. Get to take their bolt too. We're playing against Grixis control. With Blood Crypt Swamped Counterspell. Classic. Can I brew a green-black elf deck with Gristed Nexus? Okay, we'll play that next. On it, sir. It's 13 for Shadow 2. I think it just kills Scourge of the Skyclaves, right? Maybe I'm misunderstanding how that works. They draw a 1-mana removal spell. I mean, certainly not out of the realm of possibility. They're playing Grixis. Okay, they did not, and they're fetching at the wrong time. Why would you fetch into the Bauble like this? They're drawing Swamp. If I put this in the graveyard, I get Delirium. I think I'm down. They drew a second Snapcaster Mage. Kind of stinks. So I guess I'll just take the counter spell. So this way we go next turn, Lurrus in hand, attack with Darcy, they go Snap Bolt to Darcy, then we get to play Lurrus, rebuy Darcy. Main phase Snap Bolts, well, makes things easier. I could play Bauble off the Darcy, get a Surveil trigger, but I kind of just think like keeping the maximum amount of threats is better. Although it's going to depend on what we draw. The Shadow's an interesting draw. I think I'm still just going to go Lurrus Darcy. Okay, I could play Ragavan. Darcy seems way better against the Snapcaster though. At some point, there's a blue-red wizard deck with Stutter, Wizard's Lightning. Any ideas how a similar configuration will look right now? I don't think that you would... Like, you don't want to... So one thing is, like, that blue-red Wizards deck, it played mostly for Wizard's Lightning, right? That was, like, the big payoff to being Wizards. Now you have Unholy Heat, which is better than Wizard's Lightning. So I don't think that you would want to try to play a Wizard's tribal payoff deck. Because also the other payoff for being Wizards is... the counterspell, but you just have counterspell now, and counterspell isn't even that good in the metagame. And then you also have Riptide Laboratory, which is awkward with your mana base, and it's also like not like a huge payoff that you're going to build a deck around. Kind of worried about their Grixis Planeswalker. I think I'm gonna sideboard like this though. Oh no, I want to cut these Dress Downs actually. Met 6 months, welcome back. Appreciate you. I'm not sure about this, but why Lurrus Kroxa over Murktide Regent? Murktide Regent is poorly positioned in a metagame where Hammer Time is the best deck. Murktide Regent is really, really bad against the Hammer Time deck. So I think that it's kind of better to be lower to the ground. Also, Kroxa is nuts at the moment. Kroxa is really, really strong. Kroxa also works with the Dress Down, which is some good tech. Let's mulligan this. Keep this one. Why is Blue-Red Murktide not great against Hammer Time? Well, the card. So one thing is like the card Murktide Regent is terrible against Hammer Time. Oof. That's something I need to stress here, is that the card Murktide region itself is really poor against Hammer Time, where this is like your big win condition, and it's really slow, and so it's usually going to be a 2-mana chump blocker that like you have to set up by filling up your graveyard. You have to do work to make it a 2-mana chump blocker. And then it's also true that Ragavan is bad against Hammer Time because they play Midnight, they play a lot of cheap cards like Esper Sentinel to just block it. So Ragavan's bad against them. Murktide's bad against them. The card Counterspell is bad against them. There's just not that much in the deck that lines up well against the Hammer Time. How does this deck handle graveyard hate like Leyline and Rip? Well, against Leyline and Rest in Peace, like you just play Ragavan and you play Death Shadow, and you can still cast Darcy. Really, the only thing that this stops is your 2 copies of Kroxa. It makes your Dragon Rage's channelers worse, and then Lurrus, which is not, you know, a real magic card anyways. Lurrus just like is just a 3/2. So it's not that big a deal, I think, the ley lines. I guess I'll hold up Drown. I've drawn it. Rest in Peace is worse because it turns off your drowns, by the way. But Leylines, you know, this is also card disadvantage, you know, and then their opponent's gonna at some point top deck a dead Leyline of the Void. What do you think of Heliod in the current meta? I think it's a little underplayed. I think it actually did kind of recently, the last weekend. I think that you get like being able to play Sanctifier and Vac in your sideboard is really nice. You have a lot of good sideboard cards with that deck. Yeah, it's also true that like the blue-red Murktide decks, as I've been saying for weeks, if to adapt, they need to be playing 4 copies of Archmage's Charm because that card's really good against Hammer Time. If you want to still play the Murktide deck, I've been saying this for weeks, and that is how the deck can evolve and still be somewhat, you know, still playable, right? So I have still just been seeing lists that don't play for Archmage's Charm, and it baffles me. I think I'm just gonna pass. Maybe I should have gotten Steam Bins to hold up the Bolt. And Hammer Time is the best deck where you play Goblins. Main deck Trastmaster. Main deck Trastmaster seems pretty good. I did put a Goblins list together and played it off stream. It was either this week or last week, and I went 3-2. And I remember I felt like the deck was not that bad. I've just stuck with your iteration of Murktide in terms of forces. Yeah, I think the deck is still playable. It just no longer, I feel like, is the best choice for a tournament because of like, I mean, even with the charms, your matchup against Hammer Time isn't great. It's a lot more winnable with the main deck charms. But people just like want to play the cantrip version, and that version's so bad against Hammer Time. And then the charms also make you like better in the mirror. It's just makes the deck a lot better overall. Kind of I don't understand how my Grixis control opponent just like can never answer a Ragavan. Doesn't make any sense. I think I would have just like, you know, not use my treasures if I can help it, so I'm gonna just pass. They have Thoughtseize on top. Assuming you're gonna live to cast a 3-mana charm is a little sus against Hammer. Well, Charm is not literally 3 mana to win the game, but I promise you the card Archmage's Charm is very good against Hammer. If you're on the play, you're also like pretty favored to get to like, you know, steal something with Hammer, but I heavily disagree the sentiment that you're just always gonna die before you can cast your Archmage's Charm. Your deck full of 1 and 2 mana spells, you can almost always actually, I think, survive to cast the first one. Yeah, Charm is also good against Asmo. Charm is also just a great card, right? Charm is well positioned and just a super powerful card, and I just don't know why the Murktide players are so hesitant to put it in their deck. Makes no sense to me. I guess I don't want to be dead to double bolts. Why don't we just shock and win? Oh, sorry. I thought that they were surviving the hit. I should have done that. It's like the burn players not want to put Lurrus. Yeah, I know. It's like what it's just the Discord, right? I was, you know, I made fun of it in like my go live notification a bit today, right? But I feel like there's like these group chats and there's these Discords, and that they're oftentimes really helpful for people to learn decks and get new tech and hammer out kind of like stock deck lists. But it really, yeah, the Clothis emote is kind of new C4. Oh, I keep forgetting to upload the animated hand emotes. We'll do those next week. But there's like these group chats, and they just get this group think where there's like becomes a general sentiment that you don't want to play Lurrus as your companion in the burn deck. There's this general sentiment that the Archmage's charms are too slow. I'll just play a million cantrips, which also don't impact the board, and like those are also very slow. But I'll just play a million cantrips instead of Archmage's charm. I'm just gonna keep building it this way, you know. And you know, there's I don't know where this like groupthink comes from exactly. That's pretty tinfoil. I mean, it's a little tinfoil, but it's also just advice, right? Like this is less tinfoil and just actually like it doesn't matter if it's a Discord group. It doesn't matter if it's just like the general like Reddit hive mind or whoever like these ideas about deck lists. But in Magic in general, there's always a stock version of a list that people kind of accept, like this is like the stock variant, and it doesn't matter what people think. The stock variant at some point is going to need to be tuned and innovated and worked on. And when a metagame shifts, you need to be looking to change it and update it. And whenever that happens, people who play the stock list, there are always going to be some people who tell you nothing needs changed. This is how you build the deck, right? This is how you build the deck. This is a Death Shadow deck. Why would you ever play Mana Leak in a Death Shadow deck? This is a Death Shadow deck. We need to play Stubborn Denial. We need to play exactly 7 discard spells. There's going to be people who tell you these kinds of things, and a big level up moment in Magic the Gathering is being able to identify when those people are wrong. And then the next moment is, you know, you can maybe identify when people are wrong, but then finding the best cards to play instead can be very difficult. And so that's also a very, you know, difficult thing to master. But you know, and it's important to not, it's a very delicate dance to balance, right? Because even if you think that the general consensus is wrong, you could be wrong yourself, and it just takes a lot of time and experience and doing your best to think and remove like biases when you're trying to evaluate formats and metagames, you know. I think it's even more apparent in Legacy. Yeah, I agree. It's just it's a very difficult balance, right? Because it's you know, even if you feel like innovation needs to happen, even if you feel like changes need to happen, figuring out exactly what those changes are takes a lot of time and work. Just tough. So, and I'm just kind of rambling at this point. But this is also like what I've built my career on, is this you know, no, like no, it's I know that I've kind of developed this reputation for being this, like, you know, the best brewer in Modern, right, or one of the best deck builders. But I feel like even though I do think I'm good at deck building and I'm good at innovating, I think that a big part of the reason why people see me as someone like this is because there's very few people in Modern trying to innovate. There are people, but just it's a very small portion of the player base that's actually actively trying new things constantly. You know what I mean? It's a very small portion of the player base that are actively trying new things. I agree. I agree. A lot of it is also just being afraid of being wrong, and I'm wrong constantly. I'm definitely wrong constantly. For every good idea I have several bad ideas. But I think that I've become much better at identifying which ideas are bad, and it also helps because I have chat yelling at me telling me my ideas are bad. 3 months, yeah, I used to think that the Boris version of Hammer Time was a stock Hammer players list. I was wrong. Yeah, absolutely. Like, that list was, like, the stock variant for a long time and then ended up being worse than Mono White because people thought you needed more enablers than you did. With Death Shadow on top, I think I'll keep that. Yeah, afraid of burning tickets on MTGO, afraid of, yeah, just gotta let it go, I think. Yeah, there are certainly people besides me that are brewing and out there and they're innovating, but I'm not even talking about just right now though. Just over my career as a streamer and as a player, it's just I think that there are not that many people compared to the size of the player base that are actually just out here always trying new things. But there are people, and there are good people besides me too. This probably is Rhinos again. Maybe I should have held up this Drown of the Loch. But Phil, thank you for your Prime subscription. Appreciate you. A bit rambly. Also, my opponent took 5 minutes to show up, so kind of lost focus on the game. Oh, it's the same opponent from earlier. Funny. Oh, the same opponent who played like super slowly and just didn't show up. I mean, I don't know that they threw a temper tantrum. I mean, this is the same opponent that just didn't cast their spells and died, right? It was so weird. Like, here my opponent, like, they're doing the same thing again, where they're just not casting their spells. I made a version of Nassif's Jeskai control. Yes and no. So, yes, I have, in the sense that me playing the blue-red through the breach deck earlier today, or earlier this week, and me playing the Esper Reanimator control list that I've worked on, these lists I made kind of with the same theory crafting behind Nassif's list of really trying to reframe my perspective on building control decks in Modern has been my goal with these lists that I've been working on. As far as specifically trying to build a Jeskai control deck, I haven't, no. But I have just the theory crafting of trying to build an innovative one I think kind of subtle thing that you might notice, the Nassif's list is it's super obvious. No main deck counter spells is the super obvious thing, and wow, Nassif is playing just so many low to the ground cards to maximize on Expressive Iteration. But one thing I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talking about with Nassif's list is that there's no Jace the Mind Sculptor. Well, there was a Jace, but the main win condition is now Shark Typhoon. People, no Teferi Hero, no Jace the Mind Sculptor, and I like this. The idea behind that is something that I've been realizing as well. And I think, oh no, I needed to play a Black Source. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna Kroxa. Something that I think a lot of people are realizing is that Jace the Mind Sculptor, Teferi Hero of Dominaria, these cards are just not well positioned in the Unholy Heat metagame. You know what I mean? In the Unholy Heat metagame that we live in, these cards are just no longer very good win conditions, and you need to find an alternative way to attack the metagame. So I've been finding success with the blue-red through the breach deck. I've been finding success with the Esper Reanimator control list, finding win conditions that are a lot more resilient to the removal-heavy metagame, where it used to be Jace and Teferi, these cards would dodge, path, and push. Now they just get heated. Let me attack. So I don't know what's happening. Didn't it play both of those walkers, one of each? I don't think the Jeskai list did. I think it played one of those walkers. But at the very least, these are no longer the main win conditions. We can take a look at the lists. Yeah, so the 4-color list is playing one of each. And then the Jeskai list is also playing one of each. I don't know. I feel like my point still stands. Like neither card are particularly good at the moment. I thought the Jessica list only had one Jace the Mind Sculptor, but like no more is it like 4 or 5 of each of these. And honestly, I kind of think it should be like closer to 0. Because these cards are just not well positioned. They're good in some matchups, which is why like in the Esper control, you have me like sliding into Teferis for some matchups. But like the cards just are much worse than they used to be. I think dropping 4 Sarah Visions for 4 Quick Charm and Blade Murktide is a good move. I mean, that's exactly what I've been doing. Like, I had a lot of success. One thing is, if you want to play like this style deck, this is the list I'd recommend to you. I trophied twice in a row earlier this week with this deck. Just like splashing white for sideboard cards seems like the way to go in this deck, and you also get Lurrus, and the card Murktide is, you know, less good than it used to be. But yeah, I also think you don't need Serum Visions in the deck to enable Delirium, and Serum Visions is the worst card in Blue-Red Murktide. Sorry that we're getting a little rambly. It's just we played against this opponent earlier, and they just played like so strangely. I want to play one Dress Down to keep like a big shadow buff. Hammer Time plays Sanctifier and Vec as their graveyard hate, which is really nice against Hammer Time with the Esper Reanimator list. You can put it's post board. You put Sarah's Emissary on the board more often, and Sanctifier and Vec doesn't exile that. What is Dress Down for? So Dress Down makes your Death Shadow a 13/13. It also makes Kroxa enter as a 6/6, and this card kills Urza Saga tokens. You can recur it with Lurrus. Why no Scourge? So I think that Scourge is worse than Expressive Iteration and Drown in the Loch. Like I would like to, like these are the main cards I want to splash blue for, and I feel like if you play Scourge, your curve is a bit too high. Turn 1 Ragavan's really important in this matchup. It's way worse on the draw. Like this hand's like an easy keep on the play because Ragavan kind of can't die. On the draw, it can just die, and then we can never draw a Black Source. So I would keep that on the play, but not on the draw here. We can keep this one. Scourge also dies to Dress Down. That's definitely true. But I think I wasn't playing the Scourges before the Dress Downs either. I like Scourge with like a more Rakdos or maybe Mardu variant where you don't have Iteration and Drown in the Loch that increase your curve. But if you're already playing Iteration, Drown, your curve's kind of high. Also playing a Scourge makes your deck a bit too slow, I think. Well, Street Wraith would be good in the deck, but unfortunately that means you would lose Lurrus as a companion. And this Lurrus card is pretty crazy, huh? This Lurrus card sure is something. Does Dress Down remove the ability from walking Blessed Dolls that enter your battle with +1 counters? I'd have to call a judge on that one. I think that's not how it works, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna put Dress Down in the title for clickbait. I don't think Dress Down stops the trigger having a Kroxa. So if you play the Dress Down first, it does. It acts like Torpor Orb is my understanding of it. Okay, so I think I want to wait. I want to wait on the Death Shadow because I don't want it to die to a 2 damage burn spell. An exclamation point Dress Down. I just put with Dress Down in the title, I think. Yeah. I know that some people have been playing like the Rakdos mid-range deck with Scourge kind of over Voidwalker, and I think that that's an interesting approach. We do that so people know to do Dress Down when they come in. I feel like the whole exclamation point in the title, I've done it in the past, and I see other people do it, and I feel like I never see people actually doing the exclamation point. It's like I just died of this. Yeah, I feel like I don't actually see people doing the exclamation point thing. Maybe I should put Lurrus in my hand here. We have explosives to clean up rhinos if they go for rhinos. And then what's nice, especially about using explosives on rhinos this turn, is that we'll also be able to answer the suspend rhinos. I know we don't do it in Magic streams. Yeah, I think it's just, in my opinion, in my experience, it seems that the average Magic stream is less brutal. Ragavan? Oh, we're drawing Shadow. It seems that the average Magic stream is less ingrained in Twitch culture than the average Twitch stream. That makes sense. So less ingrained in Twitch culture than the average Twitch stream. It's like, it seems like a lot of Magic players come to Twitch for Magic content, and not like as many Twitch people are just, you know, oh, Magic the Gathering, I'm gonna see what this is about. And I think that that's, you know, kind of for the best, to be honest. I kind of like that the Magic, you know, Twitch community is a little bit isolated from the rest of the site, because I think the rest of the site has a lot of, you know, problems. Game 3. Why Drown instead of Counterspell? The biggest issue is mana concerns. I mean, Drown is better than Counterspell right now. I should probably say that. Drown in the Loch is better than Counterspell in Modern at the time of making this comment. It just like is like a really good removal spell against the Hammer Time decks. You can sometimes kill Murktide Regent with it. The metagame is really low to the ground. It's nice that like this can kill Ragavan, where if you're on the play, your opponent plays Ragavan, you can't counterspell the Ragavan. You can drown it though. But also like in this deck, like counterspell is really hard to cast. I think Twitch is trying to please every person is struggling to find its place. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about anything. I mean, the Twitch is a big website. There's a lot of different communities, sub-communities. And just like the super like meme culture chats. I don't even know what to call them. Just like the giant chats on Twitch. Like they tend to just not be like a very good place to be. I don't know. At least I don't enjoy them. They're like loud and they make no sense. They can be toxic, you know. And maybe that's just like every gigantic community on the internet. But I feel at least that the Magic community on Twitch is like even you know, now that I'm, you know, like a 1K Andy or whatever, I feel like my chat is like incredibly wholesome and they're kind to each other, and it's not just full of shit posts and memes, and it's a much better environment, I think, in my chat than in the average 1,000 viewer chat, you know? Yeah, the only person who's toxic is me. It's nice. Alright, mulligan. Keep this one. I would like to drown in my hand, but I think that I want to cast Iteration on 3, so I think I'm just gonna go discard spell into Iteration. Chats are getting crazy at 5K, maybe. I don't know, like I mean, I guess I'm not in Kroki's chat that often, but I've been in other like 1,000 chatter sized chats, and it's just, I feel like not as good as mine. The 103, good afternoon, fine people. Hope you have a good day. Appreciate you too. May I ask the stats I use for metagame stats? I guess I don't read that much into stats, honestly. There's no good website for metagame stats. I guess I should say that. Where the amount of data that Wizards puts out into the world is incomplete. The amount of, they don't tell you how many times a certain deck 5-0s, they'll just give you like a 5-0 list. And so nobody ever has a complete picture of the metagame with hard numbers. And And so there is no good site for stats. So I instead tend to form most of my opinions from my experience in the trenches grinding all week. Is Hammer Time any good in the metagame? It's the best deck, and that makes Murktide worse. Another iteration on top. Probably fine to keep. Yeah, this opponent has been super slow. This is our second time playing against them today. So having a complete metagame breakdown, make the modern meta more fun, less fun. Well, I don't know. Fun's a super abstract concept. What's fun for you might not be fun for everybody else. Ragavan, Nimble, Pilferer on top. I'll see if I want to shuffle that after I Thoughtseize. Yeah, I think I'll just shuffle it because they have the Fire Ice. Oh no, I should take this Fire Ice because I don't want them to ice me on my upkeep. I'll keep the Ragavan. I don't know. It's like if you have a complete picture of the metagame, if you have complete percentages, I think that makes it. I don't know. I think that makes Magic have a lot less variance. I think it makes Magic like a lot more. You can get a lot more scientific in your approach to attacking the format. And if that's something you would enjoy, then it's probably would be a good change for you. If that's something you wouldn't enjoy, it's probably a bad change, huh? So I'm gonna play this. I think I cast Darcy over Ragavan. It's kind of close. Yeah, I want to build a budget-friendly, about 200 ticks, blue-red deck. I mean, I think your only option is maybe Prowess. I don't know if that's in the 200 tick range. Yeah, but I would imagine, like, basically your only option is Prowess. I think cutting Crash Through for Boros Prowess would be good. I haven't built Boros Prowess, but I feel like I don't have Crash Through in very many of my iterations. We're just thinking about the deck. I like Boros Charm, yeah. Boros Charm seems decent. Oh, we have been talking a bit about Boros Prowess and saying that Boros Prowess with 16 1-mana creatures, that's most likely Clever Lumimancer, Darcy, Soulscar, Swift Spear. It's possible you could play Ragavan instead of either Soulscar Mage or Lumimancer, or maybe play 20 creatures, but 20 creatures is probably way too many. But just like 16 creatures, Lurrus' Companion, Bauble, and then you know, Manamorphose, Lightning Bolts, Lava Dart, light up the stage. Then you have some flex spots with, you know, lightning with you could play Boros Charm, you could maybe play Rip Apart somewhere in the 75. That card's kind of good. You have a lot of options. Unless I still played Ragavan or Rulumi. Yeah, it is true that like Lumimancer doesn't play that well with Bauble. But it's also like, at that point, is it maybe better to be mono red? Probably not. Lurrus is probably worth, and sideboard cards with Lurrus are probably worth splashing. It's also, you know, definitely true that so I think my opponent's gonna subtlety this, then we'll bolt the subtlety. Oh, they didn't. It's also definitely true that I totally lost my train of thought. My opponent's playing so weird. I bolt them, they go to 13, this becomes a 3-3, 6-6, 9, then 11, 9. 11. Yeah, not lethal. Guess we're dead to the subtlety plus violent outburst. It's interesting. Pretty beatable though. Do you think with Lurrus meta claim the firstborn's good? Probably not. Like you're like stealing. Like stealing the 1-mana creatures isn't that good if you're just gonna give it right back to them, you know? Wait, they're gonna let me hit with Monkey? When I play Boros with Lumi, I like Crash Through a lot. Yeah, I think Crash Through is playable for sure. I just don't know exactly if it's where you want to be. I really hope we don't get paired against this opponent again. This is the second time we played against them and we've just been up like 10 minutes both times. And it was weird, the first time we played against them, they just didn't cast any of their spells. I mean, I don't think they're being a sore loser. Like, they also, at the beginning of this match, it just took them 5 minutes to start playing. I don't think they're being a sore loser. I think they're just playing slow. Either they're new or they're, like, have terrible internet. They're multitasking. I don't think you're supposed to just assume that they're being a bad sport, though. And this gives me delirium. Maybe I should have tried to fetch so either Shadow is lethal, though. But now either Shadow is lethal because I have delirium. So I attack with everything. They have to block one of the shadows, so they go chump. Oh, if I attack with everything, they just chump one shadow, then kill me on the crackback. Yeah, so I guess I just leave both shadows back, actually. They also have Jace in their hands, so they could bounce a shadow here. We're not dead. They have to block both shadows. Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I mean, I had it right the first time, and then I just totally brain farted. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't know. I even said it the first time, and I don't know how I just did my math wrong. After I had already done it right. But they can go Jace, bounce a shadow, put me to 1. Then I could go crack explosives, kill them. Their hand is subtlety, Jace, mystery card. Yeah, the opponent's making my mind slow. No, we don't lose to ice. We don't lose to any one answer to a shadow, right? They would need to have like ice draw a burn spell or ice draw ice. I haven't been liking Shadow in the Grixis shell. It's a hard shot for me in a metagame with every mid-range deck having a ton of reach. So I think the card Death Shadow is really weird in Modern right now, where it's nice because so much of the removal is red, so it dodges Lightning Bolt on Unholy Heat a lot of the time. And so it's actually a really powerful, resilient card to play. The problem with Death Shadow is that the card does not come down until turn 3, usually, sometimes turn 4. And in a game like this, which is all about playing creatures as quickly as possible, playing threats as quickly as possible, Death Shadow is a bit awkward, you know? Is there any way that Grixis controls the space in the meta? The thing about a Grixis control deck is, you know, I keep thinking about, like, the Grixis spells are really good. You get Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Unholy Heat, Kolaghan's Command, Drown of the Loch, Expressive Iteration. All these cards are very good. The problem with Grixis control, though, is that all these cards are good, whatever. Your like control win conditions, the Grixis Planeswalker, Jace the Mind Sculptor, none of these cards are any good. Like, or at least like the Grixis win conditions for traditional control decks are worse than Dragon Rage's Channeler, Darcy, Lurrus, Death Shadow, Murktide Regent. And so this is just kind of something else to talk about is that in my opinion, the way I look at these things usually is I would usually qualify these like Ragavan, Darcy, Lurrus decks. I usually do think of them as control decks. But I think of them as control decks that are playing like the creatures as win conditions instead. Is usually how I think about it. You have to mulligan this. We have monkey, we keep. So that's my line of thinking. But it's also true that putting Street Wraith in your deck, like, still does not enable turn 2 shadows that often, in my experience. Turn 2 shadows, even in the old Grixis shadowed lists, were not that common. If you play Street Wraith, wouldn't you be more all on Temur Battle Rage instead of Murktide? Well, I mean, if you say Temur Battle Rage, but what is your other threat? Are you saying that you would rather play you're saying that you would rather play Gurmag Angler instead of Murktide Regent? Because Murktide Regent is a better card. Like, you could definitely make the mana work. And to say that you would be on Temur Battle Rage instead doesn't really make any sense. Because it's like you have to Temur Battle Rage a creature. It's also true that Temur Battle Rage does not play as well with Ragavan and Darcy. I think that Karn the Great Creator has a place in the metagame. Maybe. I think that Karn is probably fine in the Ponza decks. I think Etron maybe has a place in the metagame that they need to figure out exactly its role. Like, we did lose to Etron today. Like, just Chalice of the Void in particular seems like a reasonable card to be on. Oh, TBR Monkey. Okay, never mind. That's kind of cool. My opponent's shocked with Hallowed Fountain. I don't think I want to bolt and just lose to Rattle Chains. I think I'll just sack Selfless Spirit if they block Ragavan. This matchup has got to be terrible. Have I built a deck with both Spellstutter and Drown Loch? Not yet, but we'll see. So I feel like my opponent just has Rattle Chains. Maybe I can get them to use it here. Or maybe get them to use their Queller, or use them to tap their Vial to Drogskull Captain so they can't Queller my Kroxa. Yeah, them not Quellering my Kroxa is a really big game for us. We get to get their last card out of their hand. Was another Rattle Chains. So we can block Skyclave Apparition, take 4. Obviously, if they just brick, they don't draw Captain, another Queller, we're in good shape. They tapped Waterlogged Grove to cast this Wanderer. That was just like definitely the worst play they could have made, right? But kill this. Heat here, not dead on the backswing. They obviously just mistapped, right? We are dead to a Lord off the top. But how could a tribal deck have a Lord, right? What are the odds? Sack the Grove. I feel like one of their cards is a land if they sack the Grove that quickly, right? I guess it could be a 3-drop. Now they intend to chump block Kroxa. And then I'll be dead to any spirit if I don't draw removal or burn spell here. Peace. So let's see if their last card's a land like I suspect. I was incorrect in my suspicion here. I think I need to bolt the Wanderer. Now I'm not dead to a Lord. Oh, that was a tough game. Winning game 1 is a huge deal. Oh man, they probably have Sanctifier in their sideboard. Is Dress Down just sick against them? Dress Down, I'm definitely gonna run them. Feels like it's gonna lead to some cool blowouts. Dress Down's main deck. Don't need to bring it in, it's in the main deck. Dress Down does stop ETBs, yeah. You Dress Down a Queller, spell's gone forever. Well, if you respond to the Queller being cast, it doesn't dressing it down work well for you. I'm gonna get Steam Vents Ragavan here no matter what, so I'm just gonna bobble them. Yeah, we're playing Soul Guide Lantern over Nile Spellbomb because Living End will bring in Leyline of Sanctity against you. And it's really bad if they do that and you have Nile Spellbomb because that targets and Lantern does not target. Scott, 21 months, hell yeah. These 21 months have cost me way more than the surface price of 21 subs. Ripped my wallet, brutal. Oh, also brutal. I do have 3 engineered explosives in my deck. They have a 1-drop to violin. You don't. All right. Did you think of your Darcy burn listen this morning? I didn't see it, I don't think. Did you send it to me again somewhere? They exiled the Ragavan, not the captain. I need to find our explosives, I think. I guess I could also just go Lurrus in hand this turn. With the captain playing. Oh, I don't. Oh no. I played the land. I don't have double black. I think I'll just iteration. I should have obviously shouldn't have played the land though. We weren't getting a 2-for-1 off of it anyways. I guess we could put the heat in our hand. Is this the first league? Tweet it at me. Okay, I'll look at it later. This is technically the second league. I wanted to add dress downs to the deck. We were 0-1, and then we had won game 2 against the slowest team of Rhino players ever. And they were dead on board and they just left for 5 minutes, and then we were talking about adding dress down to the deck, and so I just dropped the league to add it. I think you play Scourge of the Skyclaves for TBR since it's quite good. Well, I had a Rakdos build like that, right? So if you're gonna be in on TBR and Scourge of the Skyclaves, like I just don't know if you should still be playing blue. But I had a Rakdos list like that. Alright, let's go to game 3. Alright. Got a Ragavan on the play. Love that in this matchup. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't change the stream decker. I cut the fourth drown in the fourth iteration for the 2 dress downs. We have Inquisition on top. I think I'm happy to draw that because that can answer the Chalice. What's Chalice for my sideboard? It's Cascade matchups, so just play it on 0. There's a decent amount of Cascade decks in the metagame. Oh, they have double Chalice of the Void. Oh, I can counter the second one though, because they have to fetch. What do you use Chalice against Asmo? Probably not, because you also have Baubles. I think you just need it against, like, specifically the Cascade decks. Ragavan is broken, dude. This card's nuts. Sorry, this card is bananas. Ragavan is bananas, not nuts. Oh, but there's the answer to the Chalices. Is it good against Titan? It depends. I think we have enough good cards against Titan that we don't need it. But if you have dead cards in your deck, then that's when you can bring it in against Titan. I don't think that we have enough dead cards that I'm that interested. I think I'm gonna bottom the drown. It's pretty close between keeping that or the Bauble, but Bauble plays kind of nice with the Darcy here. I already have Delirium. Sorry, Da Vinci, I don't like to just, like, I don't know. I get it, like, grinding social media and stuff's a grind, but it's just kind of bad form, I think, to ask for a tag on Twitter. But I do appreciate your suggestion for dress down. They're holding up Rattle Chains. Yeah, you're good, dude. You're good. I just get a lot of people saying, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? It just gets a bit much, you know? 3-0. It was good. It was a good suggestion, though. I do appreciate it, dude. What to do, and I'd be playing less Force of Negations probably in the current metagame, but cool list. I like it. I do genuinely no channel point redemption required like it. Although I don't understand the portable holes. I guess they're maybe just there as interaction, but I would play the 4th ending over the first portable hole, and I just don't know if you maybe don't realize that you can't get portable hole with Urza Saga. Unless there's some other synergy I'm missing. Yeah, you can't get portable hole with Urza Saga. It has to cost a 0 or 1 generic mana. Yeah, the deck list isn't up to date. I guess I could update that real quick. I cut 1 drown and 1 iteration for the dress downs. Sparring Vantage and Lurrus. This must be burn. You just play second Ragavan. And it's always like weird if you want to fetch or not against burn. It's gonna depend on what they play. Oh, it's a Mardu? Or like Mardon't, am I right? So if we fetch shock, we can play Shadow. I'm a bit worried I'd be playing too much into their hand. We can play Shadow and Kroxa. I think I'm just gonna get a tap dual land here. It's also we're playing a 1/1 Shadow at that point, which is maybe less than ideal. Let's attack with Ragavan. Probably Mardu, Darcy, Asmo, Monkey. Possibly. Possibly all of those things. I feel like it's more likely to just be like a more fair Mardu like version of the Rakdos stack. Discard an oh sorry, let's deck the triggers. Technically the wrong way, but doesn't really play around anything. Would Seal of Fire be reasonable to include in a Lurrus burn deck? I don't think so. I don't think you need it. I think that you're kind of overthinking a bit too much if you add Seal of Fire. It's like you Seal of Fire, I mean, it's not a bad card at the moment, I will say. And it is nice if you're playing Darcy too. But I just also putting any burn spell in your burn deck that does less than 3 damage is probably just not correct. They put Lurrus in their hand. Okay. We drew it. We definitely drew it. No! What am I doing? I thought that this was a Blood Crypt. So I could be attacking for 13 next turn. Big oof. Where I get my sick nasty shirts? I got this at Academy yesterday. We were doing some shot. Me and Esther and some of my friends are going camping this weekend, and saw this shirt at Academy. Liked it a lot. If they targeted this with a burn-based removal spell, we do get to save it with Dress Down. Okay, well they would have gone to discard the shadow anyways. Oh, I also don't know. Now I don't have double black for Kroxa. What a puns. Feels bad when we're 3-0. Alright, maybe they understand how it works. There's Lurrus, 2 unknowns. Man, just threw away the game. I want to Thoughtseize their Kroxa. So their Lurrus. Maybe we're doing fine. I do deck tech for channel points. I have a deck tech for channel points option. I don't understand the question. That's one of the channel point options, yeah. That was their draw step. Yeah, this is like just so punished. I think I'm gonna Kroxa. Big Bad Piggy, thanks for your subscription, buddy. Appreciate ya. Alright, got a deck tech for channel points. Bring to Light Valky, cool. Man, this is probably really rough to play Prismatic Ending and Fatal Push and Counterspell Charm. Oh, you're more of an Esper base, Splashing Green. Oh, you know what? I think that actually works. I'm not sure that it's necessarily the best way to build it, but I do think that it works to be base Esper, just to have a light green splash. I like the idea, I like the thought. One thing is I really don't think that you need a bunch of main deck Force of Negations. I think that you could get you probably just should be playing 0. I think Force is not that good at the moment. One card I've also liked, this is some TSP Yendrick tech, is Ritual of what's the card? I have it in this brew I've been working on. Oh no, this isn't it. This is now Cavulus, Culling Ritual. Culling Ritual I think is pretty cool. It's also like pretty nice in like the Lurrus decks that you always have like you can just put Lurrus in your hand with the Culling Ritual mana if you don't have anything else to do. But I would play a Culling Ritual probably over like the 4th Fatal Push or like the Force of Negations. I don't think you need the Crumble to Dust at the moment. There's not a lot of Tron. If there's Tron in your metagame, obviously ignore me. I also think you could main deck Chalice of the Void over Fatal Push, and that is possibly, you know, going to be your best option. I think that, you know, I've been saying this all week. Main deck. Ooh, I should get a basic mountain maybe. I think that main deck Chalice of the Void is excellent at the moment and is something I really encourage. Oh, I should have actually Unholy Heated my Shadow first because it wasn't Delirious. So now I could escape Kroxa. Those were just putting Lurrus in hand instead. But that's something I really recommend, is like trying out the main deck Chalices. I think Chalice is just so good right now. I would also play Kataki over Hercule's Recall. Kataki is also the truth. Yeah, we get to boost Shadow with Dress Down. Dress Down kills Urza Saga tokens, and Dress Down is also lets your Kroxa be a bit better. Oh, they took the Unholy Heat. Okay, so they're dead if they don't hit something, and we don't have like very much that they could hit that could kill Shadow, so they have to hit like their own Shadow here. Another Ragavan to chump block with. Then we get to cast Ragavan from the yard off of Lurrus after they chump block it with it. So they're going to be pretty behind. They're also dead to a lot of things here, including that. Alright, so I punted this game pretty bad, but we won anyways. I think a Vengebo Asmo deck should play Darcy or just stick with Adept. I think a Vengevine Asmo deck does not have a density of spells to trigger Darcy to take advantage of the Surveil. If you can make it work, you're probably a genius and it's gonna win some tournaments. But I have thought about it and I haven't like felt that I've been able to make it work. Brewers, make it work. Don't Dress Down in this matchup. Like probably not. I think I do want a couple of Lanterns as a Kroxa hedge. I don't think I need explosives. Is Stubborn now not good unless worse than Drown? Yeah, it's worse than Drown without Gurmag Angler. Drown is also really good in the modern metagame. So it's usually a 1-mana 3/3 flying surveil. So yeah, maybe it's good enough to play. Maybe it's good enough to play. It's also like 1-mana creatures and Vengevine decks have value, of course, being able to get your Vengevines back. It could be where you want to be. Likes reverse engineering and Asmo decks over Thought Monitor. Thoughts on that? I can't imagine that that's better. Zach Allen would have to write like an entire dissertation on reverse engineer being better for Thought Monitor. I'd have to like really try to, you know, lick my thumb, understand it, try to figure it out. Seems like maybe a pet card syndrome. Seems like maybe I've been trying to make reverse engineer work for a long time. Finally a deck that makes reverse engineer a playable card, but oh no, they also printed Thought Monitor. I just have to convince myself that reverse engineer is better. Really enjoyed your deep dive article about control. Do you think that your Shark Blue Black control deck is completely unplayable? Actually, I think that deck is becoming more and more playable as Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, Jace the Mind Sculptor get worse and worse. I'm kind of wanting to play blue black control in that same vein, but playing playing Shark Typhoon and then one of the Black Dragon from the D&D set. I think that's something I'm going to try like off stream in the next few days, and then if it's good, I'll play it on stream. I'm glad you liked the article. I spent a long time on the... I wrote a deep dive for Channel Fireball about building control decks in Modern. It's like 3,000 words. It took a long time. I wrote it like 2 weeks ago, I think, and it just came out yesterday, I think. But Kaya's Guile in the yard. I think I just want to bolt the Darcy. Maybe I should Inquisition first. Maybe it's good for Darcy to hit me because I have the shadow. I think I buy that. I'm gonna bubble them in Inquisition. They have Kolaghan's Command on top. Nile Spellbomb, Kroxa, Ragavan. They're missing their second land. I should just take the Spellbomb. Kill the Ragavan next turn. Probably with Drown. I guess now we drew that. Then we can Inquisition either Terminate or Kolaghan's Command if we want. Wooden Puddle redeem to deck tech too. We go Fetch Shock down to 16, Bolt Ragavan, take 3 from Darcy down to 13. Kind of need to draw a fetch. I also don't really feel like I'm like that scared of their hand right now. I think I just want to drown into Loch the Ragavan to be a little more mana efficient. Sagatron. Well, I do think playing Urza Saga and Tron is probably quite strong. Although it's usually maybe it's not even that good. It's like really mono green Tron really just wants to hit Tron on turn 3. And Saga isn't gonna be that good at enabling that, right? And Saga seems like really good in post-board games. But it's probably fine to play like 3 copies of Saga. Saga also finds you expedition maps against like decks that are disrupting you. There's obviously a lot of game there. Touchland? Shockland. We're really ahead if my opponent doesn't go land terminate. And even if they do, I think we're doing okay. I mean, I feel like this list feels really reasonable. I feel like this is something that you would have to play test and see how it feels. But I feel like this seems like an excellent first draft. I like being in on Wormcoil Engine. Nothing is jumping out to me about the sideboard, but it's also mono green Tron, right? Where this is something that is kind of like a tried and true strategy where the lists are like honestly very difficult to like reinvent the wheel on. And so when like a new slight upgrade like Saga comes in, you just probably don't need to overthink it too much, right? So I want them to hit me with the Darcy here. My opponent's hand is Terminate, Kolaghan's Command. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is fine. We'll just Inquisition to Terminate. You think Ulamog's a must? No, I don't. It's honestly like a little slow in the metagame. I don't mind cutting it. Bolt face. Well, I think I'm gonna bolt their Darcy now. I don't really want to take another hit. If I bolt myself, it doesn't save the shadow. The shadow, they have Delirium. Now, if I bolt my own face, the shadow becomes a 5/5, and then still dies to the Unholy Heat. Pretty sure my opponent's gonna Spellbomb EOT. If they play Kroxa, we'll discard our Kroxa to theirs. I mean, if they're playing Kroxa, they're getting smacked for 7. B7. Dress down is lethal. Kolaghan's Command, 2 mystery cards. Seems like they weren't that hot, whatever they were. Oh, it was land Prismatic Ending. Alright, they're kind of hot. I don't have another basic swamp. So if I go Fetch Shock, cast Kroxa, I lose to untap land and I lose to Bolt. But the Kolaghan's command is also just really good, so I think I just need them to draw something else, right? Tap land, creature, Bauble. Here's your Kaya's Guile. Yeah. Now they're drawing Marsh Flats, which lets them escape Kroxa, so we need to draw like brown. Game 3. It's tough stuff, man. Those draw steps, untap land, or prismatic ending were pretty good, huh? They're now confirmed to be on Kroxa, so I think I want to bring in that third Soul Guide Lantern. Is Restaurant just a cute gotcha card, or do I think it's actually the truth? I haven't cast it yet. I mean, it seems powerful in this deck, right? It seems powerful with Death Shadow. It seems good in the metagame against Urza Saga. We're still testing it, but I also think that when people see new cards in decks like this, they maybe put just too much weight on them, you know? What was it? It's like Spellstutter Sprite in the other decks I've been playing lately. Like Spellstutter Sprite is a good card in the metagame. Spellstutter Sprite is like has been a powerful option, but people like want Spellstutter Sprite to just destroy the whole format. They just want me to tell them that because I'm playing Spellstutter Sprite, this card is literally carrying the category for us. You know what I mean? And it's like Dress Down is just like a flexible, versatile spell that like cantrips and works with Lurrus and synergizes with our creatures. And it's not putting 2 Dress Downs in the deck is not. We have not broken the format. This is not definitely the way you're always going to want to build it, but it's going to be a good tool to have in your toolbox. And just I would recommend not overthinking it too much. Yeah, Dress Down does work with Kroxa if you play it first before Kroxa. You get the Kroxa in play. Yeah, it's a card type for Darcy too. It just is solid in the deck, I think. Dress Down also synergize. Oh boy, what a hand! I kind of like keeping. It's hard to mulligan in this matchup. It's kind of cute with the shadows too. I think I'm gonna be a bit more painful with the islets. We can like cantrip the lantern looking for black mana. Ragavan connects, we get, you know, black mana. I did consider Kolaghan's command, but the problem is our mana curve is already like a little high. Compared to other versions of this deck. I don't think you want to up it even more. I know this card. A pretty good card, huh? Let's go. I didn't hit a spell. I think I'm gonna Steam Vents here. Let's exile the Bauble. Maybe we should have Isleted. Oh. 17 this turn. Yeah, then we still can't Shadow next turn if off the Islet. We can if we draw a Shock land. Or fetch land next turn. When I deepen the tank, I've been able to tune it for a while. What are my thoughts on the current meta? I mean, the gameplay is really fun, and it's starting to seem like, you know, like last week it was kind of hard to like meta game and find new creative lists when it seemed like the lists were becoming a little bit more and more homogenized. But like this week, I feel like I've done a good job of building some new decks to capitalize, and I've trophied like 5 times this week, and I'm feeling really good about the format right now. Dash. Dash, dash, dash. I'm not gonna cast the Unholy Heat. Doesn't 15 black sources feel a bit light? No, I don't think so. Maybe a bit, but like that, like this deck has worse mana than other variants like it. Like, I mean, that's just definitely true. I think 15 is fine. I think 15 is like maybe less than you ideally you would like, but I don't think it's too few. You also have to remember that you have Ragavan. Like here we're gonna get to play both shadows. We have Kaya's Guile. No, there's no way you in Death Shadow you can't play Filter Land. You also gotta remember we're not playing Fatal Push anymore, right? So that should probably also like skew your perspective of the number of sources we're playing. I want to see you cast it. I feel like Into the Story is probably not that bad. I've been thinking about it. Maybe next week. Yeah, maybe we don't need. Maybe we could cut the second Steam Vents. But you just gotta remember, we have like a lot of red threats now, right? We also have Expressive Iteration Drown. So I feel like you do want Steam Vents on one a lot, but maybe you don't need to. You also play 5 Shock Lands instead of 6. Yeah, Dress Down does win the game. Even through one Prismatic Ending here. Dress Down? No, we did a double bolt. I don't think my opponent has double bolts because they let me hit them with Ragavan earlier. What does have 4 cards in their hand? Tap Conceal Courtyard. Into explosives on 1. We attack, make them sack the explosives, and then we go Shock in Steam Vents down to 4, Lurrus cast Ragavan, and don't be dead to 1 bolt. What I think is the best deck to monitor. The deck to beat is Hammer Time. I've really been liking I think that like both Rakdos mid range is an excellent choice. I think Rakdos and then like shifting away from Murktide region and the blue red Darcy Ragavan decks and playing Lurrus as a companion and Spellstutter Sprite is something I've had a lot of success with. I've also recently been playing this Esper Reanimator deck, and I don't think it's the best deck in the format, but I think it's really good in the metagame. So the format's definitely going through, I think, a lot of changes at the moment. I think that we're going to see a big shift in the next week. But the deck to beat, the deck with the biggest targets on its head, the deck that seems to be very resilient and powerful is Mono White Hammer. What, Jeskai Monkey? Is that tier 2? Do you mean Jeskai Monkey Blade? Because, I don't know. I think the card Stoneforge Mystic is not what I'm, like, super excited about at the moment. I've played against a lot of mill. The deck's fine. It's still mill, you know. Deck's fine. But the Rakdos food deck, I think a bit overhyped. I honestly think the food strategies have a lot of problems with it, like as an archetype, where their clock is really slow. They have a really powerful engine, but the engine, if it's disrupted, can lead to them having a lot of clunky draws. I mean, they have clunky draws even without it, but a lot of times you kill their cookbook or you kill their Asmo or you deal with their sagas, and their deck just flounders. I feel like that happens a lot. And is a big issue for the food decks. And I think that's why you're seeing food pilots like Doom try so many different things to try to minimize on those problems. And it's not that the deck is just bad, but it has a lot of weaknesses, you know, in that regard. And maybe the Rakdos variant, like you just play Ragavan and Darcy and your deck is, you know, just a bit more consistent. Your deck is just kind of doing a generally more powerful thing. But finding the very best version of the food deck is maybe just an unending journey. You know what I mean? I tried out the blue-white Urza deck with Portable. I haven't tried it out. I've watched some other people play it. I like the deck. Van Squirrelblade, only good against Darcy Monkey. I feel like the deck's also good against Hammer Time. Or sorry, not Hammer Time. I mean, kind of Hammer Time. Prelate's good against them. But the deck's also good against Cascade decks. Like, Prelate and Icewing are both really good against Hammer Time. You have game against them at least. Samwise, thank you for your subscription. Appreciate ya. Maybe I should have bobbled myself. Do I think a version of old MH1 Urzalis could be powerful again? Probably not. It's just like the cards like just 4-drops like Urza are kind of at a low point in the format. It's like I'm just not too excited about registering a card like Urza at the moment. And it's also true, like you're just gonna need some enablers for a deck like that the format maybe just doesn't have anymore. How do I feel about the fact that Ragavan is red? I mean, giving red more powerful 1-drops was a huge mistake. Red was already the best color in Modern before Modern Horizons 2, and now it just still is the best color. It just got so solidified as the best color. And so it does feel like that was probably the biggest design mistake of Modern Horizons 2, was that Ragavan, Dragon Rage's Channeler, and Asmo are all super powerful red 1-drops, and red already had the best red 1-drops. And now it got 3 better ones. I feel like that was a bad call. Yeah, Unholy Heat 2, another amazing red card, but I don't know. Like, these cards are all kind of fine in general. But just if you want to think about how the modern format's been going, the fact that you buffed the best color, that's a bit of a problem. They bobble themselves to know what I'm hitting with Ragavan. The best red 1-drops were Soulscar Mage and Monastery Swift Spear. Neither of these cards have been super popular since. I guess I'm gonna cast this Ragavan. An untapped creature might somehow be relevant. I'm kind of surprised my opponent didn't trade Lurrus's here. To be fair, most of those cards were probably designed before red decks were that strong. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. I know this is not an angry tweet. This is not me blasting Wizards for their design choices. When I say that was like the biggest design mistake, I think that maybe is even praise for MH2. I think that MH2 was a big success. You know, just a set like MH2 with so many powerful pushed cards that are exciting and people really get hyped about. Like, the incarnations are amazing design because people think they're so cool, and people are saying these cards are busted. They need to be pre-ban Grief. Grief Ephemerate is going to be tier 0. Was just like a super common thing you'd see online, and that's exactly the kind of card that's great to design. Cards that get people hyped and they seem broken, but they're actually balanced. That is the perfect kind of card for Wizards to design. A card that seems broken but is actually fine. You know, Ragavan is too good. Ragavan is not a well-designed card. Urza Saga is not a well-designed card. I think the rest of the set was a slam dunk, and I think that Ragavan and Saga are also not so broken that we have an unenjoyable format. And I'll also say the gameplay with at least Ragavan is really enjoyable. I don't enjoy the Saga gameplay as much, but I do enjoy Alpine Mooning Saga. That's fun for me. Yeah. I think the gameplay is really, really good right now. So no ban. Yeah, I don't think bans are gonna happen anytime soon in Modern. I mean, who knows, right? Only Clothis knows. I don't think I will main deck Tormod's Crypt to go with Darcy. No, if Bauble's banned, but you know we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it, right? Well, if Bauble is ever banned, we will have plenty of conversations about it. We'll have plenty of conversations about it when and if that ever happens. Do you think that Spellstutter Spriteless is playable without Ragavan? I mean, you just kind of have to understand like what you have to define playable, right? Because you can register the deck and you can win games with it. That deck is a lot worse without Ragavan though. But if you just want to play it at your local game store, that's totally fine. But they dashed the Ragavan? Why did they dash Ragavan? I have a Death Shadow. They're letting me kill Lurrus? Did they bauble me this turn? No. Okay. Block here. I think they're dead. I guess they were actually dead if I blocked Ragavan, for sure. Now they have a mana. Actually, maybe I should have blocked Ragavan because now I could have gone. I can still go, but I could go drown Darcy, dash Ragavan, and they're dead if they have nothing. But I just like gave them a mana. But they probably would have cast a removal spell if they already had one. Yeah, like you know, I don't know how is my opponent down 13 minutes. Yeah, it's probably just the pressure from the clock log match. We're 4-0 though. 4-0 with Dress Down Shadow, although we haven't asked Dress Down once. So we're up to 8 trophies right now. We've successfully trophied like 5 times this week. Believers have been paid off every time. Is now the time to choke at the end of the week. As an MTG streamer, you have to promote some new card by creating a deck around it. Actually, step 1 to being an MTG streamer is creating a collage. After you have created your collage, the rest kind of just comes together really nicely, usually. In my experience, at least. Put back Bauble. Got Ragavan on the play against a non-Lurrus deck. Should be pretty good. Well, I feel like this match maybe comes down to, does my opponent have mutagenic growth? They do not. Yeah, so I think what I do want to do next turn is go Dress Down into Kroxa. Oh wait, I can Dress Down. What is
What's
this?
up? It's me, your friend, Aspiring Spike.
Okay, whatever. So I can go Dress Down end of turn, right? Beginning of the end step, yeah. And then that also helps against the Symmetry Sage. This is actually our first time casting Dress Down this league. Let me get Basic Swamp. Opponent doesn't even read it. It's pretty good. Just down looking solid so far. Blue Red Prowess has been an underplayed deck. Blue Red Prowess is having a hard time. Oh, I know what I'll do to make this deck good again. I'll play Symmetry Sage. This is the answer to all my problems as a Blue Red Prowess player. Reckless Charge? I mean, I'm just gonna jump block. Okay, maybe skip. I mean, this looks fine here, to be honest. Perhaps I judged too harshly, huh? Oh wait, a 1-mana 3/3 flyer versus a 1-mana 2/2 flyer. That's right, that's right. Even though innovative modern, because Spike makes fun of them. I just have a monopoly. I just roast everybody else who tries new things. I mean, trying new things is important. I mean, I play a lot of things that are laughable too. But it's also very important to remember that you should not try new things just to try them. It's always important to, like, feel like your idea is good, you know? And maybe my opponent might... I mean, this card is not embarrassingly bad in their deck. But is it going to be what their deck needs to succeed? Is Snapcaster what their deck needs to succeed? Probably not. But, you know, always good to try new things. Is opponent for I don't know. I don't think I want to fetch Shock to put Lurrus in my hand. I only have 2 basics. Opponent is 1-0. Opponent is 1-0. Now they're down a game. So we're going to bring in Unearth. Probably want some amount of explosives. I'm not a huge fan of Thoughtseize. Explosives is a lot worse on the draw, but I just don't want any Thoughtseizes. MTG bot, it's a Twitch extension. It'll tell you your opponent's record. As far as I know, it doesn't tell you the record if I don't think there's any way to get a record without it. At least that's the only way I know of. Sounds great. Opponent moles to 6. Looking really good for the believers right about now, huh? Believers have just been living it up this week. I think believers are... So I trophied off stream on Wednesday. I also recorded a Channel Fireball video on Wednesday, but I won't say if that's related to the trophy. So I think I've gotten... So I got 2 trophies with Jeskai, or blue-red Lurrus, and then I got 2 trophies with... Stash Ragavan. Because they put a card on top, they missed a land drop, so I want to deny them that land. And then I got 2 trophies with Esper Reanimator, and then I think that was it this week. Try Aria Flame and the Dimulus Brew. I just don't think it's what the deck needs to succeed.
What's up?
I mean?
It's me, your friend, Aspiring Spike.
I did think of it, but it just doesn't feel like that's what the deck needs. I'm gonna Lurrus here. Thanks, Donnie, for the cheer. Appreciate ya. And some more energy going. I think I'm getting Watery Grave. Maybe I should get Steam Vinsec. No. Need double black and I need blue mana. But I also need like a lot of red mana here. Grixis mana base always a little sketchy. Soulscar Mage. Why don't we bolt that? Dash Ragavan. Exile another land. Maybe we should have tapped Watery Grave. Probably should have. Oh, no. I needed these to cast the bolt in the Ragavan. Letting out a little bit. Shout out to Lurrus. At what point when testing a deck do I feel like it's a tier 1 contender? Never. Or I feel like decks are tier 1 contenders when other people pick them up and do a lot of winning with them. Tier 1, in my opinion, is are like the decks that are the most popular in the metagame, and that people oh, they just conceded. Wow. In my opinion, tier 1 decks are the most popular in the metagame, and that people are the decks to beat. And when I'm brewing, people are still not, you know, playing the deck enough for me to call it tier 1. But if people start to pick it up, that's when. Right, Believers always paid off. But we opened a Modern Horizons 2 pack. So we get to reroll for Ragavan. Wait, how are the odds were not even that good for the doubters?